So I've been using this Nothing Phone 2a for the last month and a half, and I think it's quite amazing. Here's why. The whole thing starts with Nothing OS 2.6. This is the current software on Nothing phones, and I think it's quite amazing. It's very close to stock Android, which I love, but it's also got some extra customizability perks. One of my personal favorites is the Nothing icon pack, which just turns everything into a slightly Material U monochrome icon. So it's quite amazing, and I personally really love it. It really ties well together with the Nothing widgets, especially the clock widget and the quick look. And it's really practical and a good looking setup. I gave high praise to the design in my original video, and I still do. This plastic wonder is quite amazing, and it's very light compared to most other competitors in the space. The design on the back is also quite striking, and it definitely turns heads, especially with this glyph interface on the back. However, I do wish that Nothing makes an option with a matte backplate instead of this glossy thing. I mean, there are matte skins out there that don't compromise on the look of the thing itself while also just getting rid of fingerprints. Moving on to the glyph interface on the back, it's very useful. There's the glyph timer, the glyph fill lights, and honestly it's just a really nice little soft light for close-up photography. Moving on to performance, I've tried many games. So there's Zenless Zone Zero, the latest Hoyoverse title. It runs decently smooth, between 45 and 50 frames per second, and when playing Call of Duty Mobile, I can comfortably stick to 60 FPS on all the highest graphics. I've also recently tried this game called Honor of Kings. It's a decently resource-intensive game. In my experience, it comfortably sticks to 60 FPS on the highest settings and with HDR effects. However, when you go into the late game, it does drop down to about 50 to 55 frames when everyone's got their effects and upgrades and stuff. So it does tend to chug a little, but you can barely notice it. This phone also rarely ever heats up. The only time it does actually heat up is when I'm out in the sun for really long periods of time. So that's definitely significantly better than the heat pack that the Pixel 7a turns into when I try to turn on Google Chrome. In terms of battery, it seems to refuse to die. I usually start my day at 6 AM, using my phone for quite a bit, watching videos and texting and sometimes a little bit of light gaming. And this thing just happily sees me through to about 7 to 8 PM with 10% left in the tank, which is pretty impressive. There was this one time I even got 12 hours of screen on time, but that was just one outlier. Moving on to the cameras, when you're talking about a $350 phone, you're not going to talk much about camera performance unless you're talking about something like a Pixel. However, this thing is definitely a very functional camera. My only small gripe with this Nothing phone's camera is that it tends to lag a little. Like, I can deal with saturation because that can be edited out, but when it lags, it's really uncomfortable because sometimes I miss a shot completely because of that lag. I found that turning off Ultra XDR does help with that lag issue, but your mileage may vary. I think this might be a limitation of the Dimensity 7200 Pro inside this phone, but it's a perfectly functional phone camera for scanning documents and just a bit of creative photography. I also found that video was a bit lacking. Like, just as an example, my video talking about the Nothing Phone 2a Plus was recorded on the Nothing Phone 2a, and you know, near the end of it you could tell that the frame rate was dropping insane amounts. The selfie camera is not half bad. Like, I personally wouldn't use this for anything more than conference calls, but yeah, it's a perfectly functional selfie camera that does 1080p 30 frames. Just some moderate extras that didn't kind of fit into the rest of this video. The Nothing News Reporter widget is really cool. It uses AI to synthesize the voice of Tim, the CFO of Nothing, and it's kind of cute if you're really interested in that kind of stuff, but personally I feel like it's more practical if I just flip to my Google Discover page, which is literally on the home screen there, so alright. The fingerprint sensor is okay. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but it's definitely much faster than on the Pixel, which is not a high bar to clear. I've also been testing the CMF Watch Pro 2 alongside this phone, and as of now I think it's great. Its own video is coming out soon. Stick around for that. Subscribe and have fun.